The metal floors of the dragon pens vibrated with each breath the beast took. Kronvar lay in the farthest corner of his containment cell, his massive body pressed against the cold walls. His obsidian scales, once polished and proud, were now dull and marked with scars. The largest scar ran across his left wing, a reminder of the battle that had killed his first rider. Commander Aldrich stood outside the energy barrier, watching the dragon through the shimmering blue field. Next to him, Captain Vextar, a tall reptilian officer, held a data pad that glowed with reports. 7 riders in 2 years, Vextar said, his voice a low hiss. 3 dead. 4 in medical recovery. The dragon is too dangerous, Commander. Aldrich said nothing. He had seen Kronvar before the Battle of the Shattered Nebula. Back then, the dragon had been magnificent, soaring through space with his rider in perfect harmony. That rider, Lieutenant Torres, had been Aldrich's friend. When Torres died, something in Kronvar had died too. The Kresh Imperium will reach our borders in 3 months, Aldrich finally spoke. We need every war dragon we have. Kronvar is the largest and most experienced fighter we possess. He will not bond, Vextar insisted. Yesterday he nearly killed Rider Kthan. The medical team says Kthan will never walk properly again. Aldrich watched as Kronvar shifted, his tail sweeping across the floor with a sound like grinding stone. The dragon's eyes, deep amber and ancient, stared at nothing. Or perhaps at everything. 1 more month, Aldrich decided. We will find someone who can reach him. And if no one can? Vextar asked. The commander's jaw tightened. Then we will have to make the hard choice. Both officers knew what that meant. A war dragon that could not fight was a waste of resources. The humane thing they would say was to put him down. To give him peace. But Aldrich remembered Torres laughing as Kronvar performed barrel rolls through asteroid fields. He remembered the bond between human and dragon, something deeper than words or commands. Something like friendship. Inside the pen, Kronvar's nostrils flared. He could smell the fear of the guards, the calculation of the officers. They all saw him the same way now. As a problem. As something broken that needed fixing or disposing of. He had tried to explain in the only way he could, that he would not bond again. Every time a new rider approached with that aggressive stance, with commands and expectations, Kronvar felt Torres's death all over again. The Neuralink had shown him everything in those final moments. The explosion, the pain, the desperate love of a rider trying to save his dragon by cutting the link before death traveled through it. But these new riders did not understand. They grabbed at his neural interface points, the sensitive spots along his neck and spine. They pushed and demanded and tried to force the connection. It hurt. Not just physically but deeper. In the place where Torres had once lived inside his mind, there was now only silence. So Kronvar fought back. Not because he was savage. Not because he was broken. But because he would not let anyone use him like a tool again. The guards changed shifts. Maintenance crews rolled equipment past his pen, keeping their distance. A cleaning drone buzzed along the outer barriers, removing debris. The facility hummed with activity, but Kronvar heard none of it. He was listening to older sounds, the memory of Torres's voice, the way space felt under his wings, the rush of battle when rider and dragon moved as one. Commander Aldrich turned away from the pen. 1 month, he repeated quietly. Find someone. Anyone. As the officers left, Kronvar closed his eyes. The scars on his body ached. The scars on his soul ached more. He did not know that his answer was already walking the halls of the facility, carrying a toolkit and seeing the world in a way no one else did. Maya Chin felt the vibration before she saw the warning light. The floor beneath her boots trembled in a pattern she recognized. Something was wrong with the power grid in Section 7. She set down her welding tool and pressed her palm flat against the metal wall. There. A stuttering rhythm. Uneven. Dangerous. Her coworker Jenkins was shouting something at her. Maya looked up and read his lips. What's wrong? She pointed at the wall and signed quickly. Her translation device, a small box clipped to her collar, spoke in a flat mechanical voice. Power surge. Section 7. We need to check it now. Jenkins groaned. Section 7 was the dragon pens. Specifically the isolated pen at the end. Kronvar's pen. Can't it wait? Jenkins asked, speaking slowly so Maya could read his lips. That dragon is crazy. I'm not going near there. Maya shook her head. A power surge could damage the containment barriers. If the barriers failed, Kronvar could escape. Or worse, the backup systems might shock him. She had read the reports about how they used pain compliance tools on the war dragons during training. The thought made her angry. She grabbed her toolkit and started walking. Jenkins followed reluctantly, muttering complaints she could not hear and did not care about. The other maintenance workers treated Maya kindly enough, but she knew what they thought. They spoke slowly to her as if she was stupid instead of deaf. They gave her simple tasks as if she could not handle complex repairs. She had stopped trying to prove herself to them. Instead, she proved herself through her work. She fixed things others could not fix because she noticed things others could not notice. She felt vibrations in machinery. She read the tiny changes in how equipment behaved. In a world built on sound, Maya had learned to listen with her entire body. The dragon pens were massive structures, each one large enough to hold creatures the size of small ships. Most pens held 2 or 3 dragons. Kronvar's pen held only him. Maya had seen him before from a distance. Every maintenance worker had been warned to stay away. But she had watched him through the observation windows during her breaks. She saw how he moved to the corner farthest from the door whenever anyone approached. She saw how he flinched when guards walked by with shock prods. She saw the scars. The scars bothered her most. Not the battle scars, those were understandable. But the other ones, the fresh ones around his neck and spine where the neural interface points were located. Those scars came from people hurting him while trying to make him obey. Maya knew something about being treated as broken. She remembered doctors who tried to fix her, teachers who spoke over her to her parents, kids who mocked the way she talked before she stopped talking altogether. She remembered being told what she could not do more than what she could do. Jenkins checked the control panel outside Kronvar's pen. Power levels are fluctuating, he said, turning so Maya could see his face. But it's stable enough. Let's just report it and let the engineers handle it. Maya shook her head. She pointed at the readings. The fluctuations were getting worse. In another hour, maybe 2, the barriers could fail. I'll do it, her device translated. You can wait here. You're crazy, Jenkins said. But he looked relieved. Maya entered the access corridor that ran along the outside of the pen. Through the energy barrier she could see Kronvar. He was larger than she had realized. His obsidian scales reflected the blue light of the barrier. His wings, folded against his body, were scarred and magnificent. She began working on the power relay, her tools moving with practiced efficiency. But she kept glancing at the dragon. And slowly she realized something. He was watching her too. Not with the aggressive stare of a predator. Not with the empty gaze of a defeated creature. He was watching her with curiosity. Maya stopped working. She turned fully toward the barrier. Kronvar's massive head tilted slightly, his amber eyes meeting hers. For a long moment, neither moved. Maya raised her hand slowly and pressed it against the barrier. On the other side, separated by energy and fear and scars, Kronvar watched a human who looked at him differently than all the others. The storm hit Draken Prime without warning. Lightning cracked across the purple sky, and the facility's power system screamed in protest. Maya felt the vibrations change from steady to chaotic. Emergency lights flashed throughout the corridor. Jenkins had left to check the main power room. Maya was alone in the access corridor near Kronvar's pen when the barrier flickered. Once. Twice. Then it died completely. Red warning lights spun in circles. Maya's translation device beeped urgent warnings she could not hear. She could only feel the change in the air, the way the energy field's constant hum against her skin had vanished. The pen was open. Maya knew she should run. Every safety protocol said to evacuate when containment failed. But through the doorway she saw Kronvar thrashing. Neural interface cables had tangled around his neck during the power surge. The equipment was designed to deliver training signals, rewards and corrections directly into a dragon's nervous system. With the power fluctuating wildly, it was hurting him. She watched his wings slam against the wall. His tail swept across the floor, gouging metal. His mouth opened in what must have been a roar of pain. Maya made her choice. She stepped through the doorway into the pen. The space was enormous, but Kronvar filled it. This close, she could see every scar, every mark on his scales. She could feel the vibrations of his distress through the floor, each movement sending tremors up her legs. Kronvar's head swung toward her. His amber eyes locked onto hers. Maya saw the warning there, the fear mixed with rage. But she saw something else too. Confusion. The look of something suffering that did not understand why. Maya did not shout. She did not make demands. She simply moved forward slowly, her hands visible, her body language calm. She had learned long ago that communication was more than words. It was intention. It was presence. She reached the tangled cables around Kronvar's neck. Her fingers worked quickly, releasing emergency catches. The cables fell away. Kronvar could have killed her then. One snap of his jaws. One sweep of his claws. Instead he went very still. Maya saw the scars on his neck more clearly now. These were not battle wounds. These were marks from the neural interface equipment being forced onto the same spots over and over. The skin was damaged, sensitive. Every time a new rider tried to bond, it must have hurt. Without thinking, Maya reached out and touched one of the scars gently. The connection hit them both like lightning. Images flooded Maya's mind. She saw through Kronvar's memories, a rider laughing during flight, then an explosion, then falling, then emptiness. She felt his grief, deeper than any human word could describe. She felt his fear of being hurt again, of being used again. And Kronvar saw into Maya's mind. He saw her memories of being 6 years old, watching other children play games she could not join because she could not hear the rules. He saw doctors with cold instruments. He saw people speaking at her but never to her. He saw her learning to be strong in a world that called her broken. Scars recognized scars. The connection was not complete, not the full combat bond that riders trained years to achieve. But it was real. It was understanding flowing both directions. Maya's hand trembled against Kronvar's neck. Tears ran down her face. Kronvar's breathing slowed. The tension in his muscles eased. When the emergency teams arrived minutes later, they found something impossible. A human maintenance worker standing beside the untamable war dragon. Both alive. Both calm. Commander Aldrich watched the security footage 7 times. Each time he saw the same thing. The moment the girl touched the dragon's scars and both of them stopped fighting the world. "Get me that girl's file," he ordered. "Now." Commander Aldrich gave Maya one condition. She could work with Kronvar, but she had 6 weeks. If she could not achieve a full bond by then, Kronvar would be decommissioned. The word sounded clean, official. Maya knew what it really meant. The first week, she simply sat in the pen with Kronvar. She brought her lunch and ate while he watched her. She brought her toolkit and repaired small things while he grew accustomed to her presence. She never tried to touch his neural interface points. She never made demands. By the second week, Kronvar moved closer. He would lie near her while she worked. Sometimes she would place her hand on his scales, and they would share brief flashes of feeling. Not thoughts. Not words. Just understanding. Maya learned his body language. The way his tail twitched when he was annoyed. The way his wings shifted when he was curious. The way his eyes softened when he was content. And Kronvar learned hers. She taught him hand signs. Dragons had excellent eyesight, better than most species. Maya would sign hello, and friend, and safe. Kronvar began to recognize the patterns. He started responding with small movements of his own, a nod, a blink, a gentle rumble she could feel through her boots. Other human engineers noticed what she was doing. They designed new interface equipment, softer pads that would not press on Kronvar's damaged skin. They created a modified flight suit for Maya with visual displays instead of audio warnings. But not everyone was supportive. Traditional riders mocked her openly. A Draxian warrior named Karot confronted her outside the pens one day. He was twice her size, covered in ceremonial battle scars. "Humans are not warriors," he said, speaking slowly as if she was a child. "You are engineers. Support staff. You are too weak, too fragile for combat." Maya's translation device spoke for her. Strength is not just physical. Karot laughed, a sound she could not hear but could see in his expression. "The Kresh will not be defeated by kindness, little human. When they come, your soft words will mean nothing." Even some humans doubted her. Jenkins pulled her aside after work. "Maya, people are talking. They say you're making us look bad, trying to be something we're not. Maybe you should stop before someone gets hurt." Maya signed her response sharply. "I'm not trying to be anything. I'm just being myself." The pressure mounted as weeks passed. The Kresh Imperium's fleet moved closer. Coalition Command needed every dragon operational. Aldrich called Maya to his office. "Can he fight?" the commander asked directly. Maya hesitated. She and Kronvar had a connection, but not the full neural link needed for combat. "We are close," her device translated. "But I cannot force it. That is what everyone else tried." "We are running out of time," Aldrich said quietly. 3 days later, everything changed. A training exercise went wrong. A young dragon named Scythex panicked during a simulated battle drill. He broke free from his rider and went berserk in the training yard. Guards scattered. Other dragons roared in response to his distress. Maya was crossing the yard when Scythex charged. She saw the massive shape bearing down on her. She saw the fear in the young dragon's eyes. She knew she could not move fast enough. Then Kronvar was there. He smashed through the pen barrier like it was paper. his massive body positioned over Maya, shielding her. His wings spread wide, creating a wall of obsidian scales between her and danger. Maya pressed her hand to Kronvar's neck. Not on the scars. On the space beside them. The full neural link snapped into place. Suddenly Maya could feel everything. Kronvar's heartbeat. His strength. His determination. His fierce, overwhelming need to protect her. And he felt her trust, her gratitude, her absolute certainty that together they were complete. When security arrived, they found two beings standing as one. A dragon and a human. Bonded not by force or training but by choice. The Kresh Imperium attacked at dawn. Their ships tore through Draken Prime's atmosphere like silver knives. Alarms flashed throughout the facility. Maya felt the vibrations of explosions through the floor. She ran to the dragon pens. Kronvar was already waiting, his harness prepared by the ground crew. Maya climbed onto his back, settling into the modified saddle. Her helmet's visor lit up with visual displays, tactical maps, threat indicators, all designed for someone who navigated by sight, not sound. Through their neural link, she felt Kronvar's readiness. His excitement. His fear. Her own emotions mixed with his until she could not tell where she ended and he began. They launched into the purple sky. Space combat was chaos. Other Dragon Rider pairs shot past, engaging Kresh fighters. Explosions bloomed in silence. Maya experienced them through Kronvar's senses, through the vibrations that traveled through his body into hers. A Kresh cruiser fired on a damaged Coalition transport. Traditional riders chased glory, diving after enemy fighters. But Maya saw something different. She felt the pattern of attack, the way the Kresh focused on the weakest targets. Through the neural link, she sent Kronvar a feeling more than a command. Protect. Kronvar wheeled around and positioned himself between the transport and the Kresh cruiser. His scales absorbed the first volley of fire. Maya's fingers flew across her control interface, sending tactical data to other riders. On her visor she marked priority targets, not for attack but for defense. 3 other dragons followed Kronvar's lead. They formed a protective screen around the damaged ships. The Kresh fighters, expecting traditional aggressive attacks, flew into a coordinated defense they had not prepared for. Commander Aldrich watched from the command center, his eyes wide. "What is she doing?" Captain Vextar asked. "Winning differently," Aldrich whispered. Maya did not hear the explosions. She did not hear the radio chatter or the screams or the roar of engines. Instead, she felt everything through Kronvar, every vibration, every shift in momentum, every pulse of energy. She read the battlefield like reading a page of text, seeing patterns that sound-dependent riders missed. The Kresh flagship moved into position, targeting the command center on Draken Prime. It was massive, heavily armed. A direct assault would cost dozens of Dragon Rider pairs. Maya felt Kronvar's battle rage surge through the link. She sent back calm. Strategy. Through their bond, she showed him what she saw. The flagship's fighter screen was tightest at the front, weakest on the sides. Kronvar understood. He signaled to the other dragons with movements and roars. The dragons began moving in coordinated patterns, something riders had thought impossible without vocal commands. But Maya's sign language, translated through Kronvar, became a new language all dragons could see and understand. They struck from 3 sides simultaneously. Not a wild charge but a calculated attack. While Kresh guns focused on the frontal assault, Maya and Kronvar slipped through the side, targeting the flagship's engines. Kronvar's claws tore through metal. His breath weapon melted through shields. Maya guided him with feelings and images, left, down, now, there. They moved as one being, anticipating each other perfectly. The flagship's engines exploded. The massive ship began listing, its attack broken. Kresh fighters scattered. The coalition rallied. The tide of battle turned. When they landed hours later, Maya's legs shook. Kronvar's scales were scorched but he was alive. They were both alive. Commander Aldrich met them on the landing pad. "You saved hundreds of lives today," he said, looking directly at Maya so she could read his lips. "I was wrong. We were all wrong. Humans are not too weak for war. You are just different. And different won." Over the following months, Maya trained other handlers in her methods. Dragons deemed too traumatized or too difficult were reassessed. Some bonded with handlers who had their own scars, their own different ways of seeing the world. Maya stood with Kronvar on the landing platform watching the sunset. Through their link she felt his contentment. His peace. 2 beings, both scarred, both called broken. Together, they had shown the galaxy that the greatest strength was not the absence of wounds. It was choosing to heal them together.